Alright, welcome everyone. Sorry about that. I was supposed to record this video about 4 hours ago, and then I took a nap, and here we are. So welcome back everyone to video number 6 of the Deep Elf Fire Elementalist tutorial series. Just before we start, I want to make a note that I wrote quite a good amount in video number 5's little area. Just talking about lair and stuff, mostly just to give you guys a bit of a tip. It seems like as I've gone on into these later on videos where there's not quite as much, I guess, like, generic mechanic stuff, I've kind of sort of, gone a little bit more in depth to certain things. So for example, in video 4, I talk about the power of Sticky Flame and Conjure Flame, but in video 5 I talk about, things like Fireball, and range and 10-speed enemies and such. So in that vein, we'll probably be doing the same thing in for the rest of it, but that's fine. Let's just go downstairs and continue on with our merry way. I apologize if my voice sounds a little raspy. Occasionally it does that due to the medicine I've been taking. It does occasionally end up like this, so I can't really talk too well from time to time. Alright. So most of the stuff we learned in the last video is extremely applicable to today. We're going to explore in small concentric circles, slowly branching out so as to avoid, being backspawned. I want to avoid using Fireball this early on in the fight, this early on in the floor, I suppose. So I'm going to use Iskandrin's Mystic Blast instead. As you can see, the noise is a lot more manageable than if I had cast Fireball. If you looked back at the old footage and you looked at Fireball spellcasting, it does go to red noise, whereas IMB is nowhere near as loud. And because of that, I'm able to take care of enemies fairly efficiently. With 47 mana, I still am completely fine. Even if I, burn a couple of tens of mana just to do random things, I can still get away with it because I have so much now. Helmets are a free point of AC. They don't interfere with spellcasting. The only things that interfere with spellcasting would be armor in the body slot and shields. The auxiliary stuff does not actually, reduce your spell hunger rate. Oh, sorry, your spell failure rate. Note that armor and stuff, the spell... Oh, actually, I can cast Freezing Cloud. I completely forgot about that. Note that the armor and shield doesn't actually decrease the spell hunger or spell power of your spell, only the spell failure. That's just a small thing you should keep in mind. This is a great position for me to be in. I can just throw hundreds and hundreds of clouds of ice at these guys, and they'll just kind of walk through and all die before they get to me, hopefully. They didn't, but that's fine. I'm just going to increase the amount of clouds and then walk back. There's a lot of corpses over there, but I still want to walk back and heal my mana up first rather than engage, because otherwise I'd be walking straight into the unknown with less mana than full, which is not good. Okay, I'm gonna cast Conjure Flame here, and this is an example of me shaping the clouds. I cast Conjure Flame here, and then I cast Freezing Cloud right next to it. Oh god, never mind. My hand was on the wrong side of the keyboard. Alright, I'm just gonna back off here. Sorry about that. For some reason, my keyboard feels a little weird to hold for some reason today. Not hold, but, it's positioned oddly. I don't know. I think I'm not sitting in the right position. Like, all day today, I've actually had a couple of issues with pressing the wrong keys. It was like my hand was one tile across. Yeah, see, it's still kind of doing that a little bit. I just pressed O on the numpad instead of right. Okay, for whom it's given us Yara's Violent Unraveling. This is a Hex's Transmutation spell, so this is a good time to bring up cost efficiency. This is a irresistible corrosion sort of attack that works especially well on enchanted enemies that have buffs. It's considered a bad spell because it's a Hex Transmutation spell, and it's also direct damage. Hex's Transmutation, neither of those tend to be direct damage spells. And mages would have to go very far out of their way to get that. And it's also level 5, and it's also very loud. So it's just, there's just a whole, there's in terms of, what the hell is it called? I keep calling it cost efficiency. Cost benefit analysis. instantly forgot what it was called. And it's blanked my mind for a few days now. Like, I actually am pissed off. I'm gonna just... Like, this was the most circle jerk I've ever done, but I'm just gonna go ahead and hit, what the fuck was it called? I actually forgot. I'm stupid, I know. I had it in the, yeah, opportunity cost. Friggin' hell. Finally. God. Opportunity cost. Sorry. Like, my brain has been not focused today. I've just woken up. Opportunity cost is, for this spell, is really high because I'd have to train into hexes and transmutations to get the spell online. It's just not worth doing. And in general, in terms of my spell slot analysis, it's also not worth it because it pretty much does the same thing as Fireball and IMB, but, you know, slightly worse in all regards. Okay, just gonna Sticky Flame and walk back. My undead offer a pretty nice meat shield because you can kind of just walk to the front, Sticky Flame, walk to the back, and then they just end up dying. Fireball here is pretty nice. Back off immediately after using Fireball, though. Do not want to attract enemies from all sides. You gotta remember that noise doesn't go out in a cone, it hits in all directions, meaning that you can attract enemies from the left, right, north, and south of your character, rather than just the point where you fire it. I'm not actually sure if the fireball noise originates from the fireball position. I assume it does, or if it originates from the player itself. That'd be kind of weird. But let me see. Actually, is there a way to check that? If I throw a fireball, oh my gosh, it actually does. Okay, so if I throw a fireball right next to me, it'll be red fire, red noise. But if I throw a fireball far away from me, it'll be yellow. So yes, it does actually. Damn, I can't believe I was able to test that. That was ridiculous. So yeah, a noise does originate from the point of impact, not from the caster itself. So this is another example of using the flame cloud to shape the ice clouds. By casting the flame cloud in this corridor, it forces all the ice clouds to spawn to the right of the thing, and therefore have zero backlash on us. Meaning we can just kind of stand here and just let everything walk into us. Obviously the blink frogs could blink around, so I was watching to make sure that he couldn't do that. But generally they won't last long enough to blink behind me. And even if they did, I have so many ways of killing them. Isn't funny at that point. Alright, Ice Cave. Ice Cave can be manageable, very manageable, in a lot of cases. So we'll probably try to go towards it. We have a Scroll of Magic mapping. This is also layer 6 though, so again, I'm focusing quite... I'm going to prioritize my own safety. I'm going to cast Magic Mapping, see where it is. Okay, it's very close to an upstairs. So I'm going to actually go ahead and try to go down a different set of staircases. And I'm near the... Yeah, I'm near this one, that's good. Ooh, okay. This is an excellent time for me to use my Conjure Flame Ice Cloud trick, I guess. Also, keep in mind that I'm casting the Fire Cloud right here. And I'm pressing dot to aim at the ground, meaning that the spell stops there rather than going past. This is going to help prevent me putting out my enemies, my own flames, my own ice clouds, when I cast the fire spell on top of them. Again, because of that interaction between fire and cold. It's a pretty small thing, obviously, but you know it's kind of nice to have. Cast an ice cloud here. There we go. Oh gosh, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, so we might not be able to go to the end here. Can I ice cloud this? I guess I should move one tile back and then ice cloud. Yeah, I didn't want to accidentally ice cloud myself. I'll take a pretty heavy amount of damage. So here you can see that my undead kind of act as a wall, keeping them inside these ice clouds for a lot longer, and allowing me to just kind of stand back and just melt these guys. I want to avoid being in melee with these guys, so I'm going to back off. But I'm going to try to keep the enemies in the fire cloud as long as I can, meaning I have to stay in line of sight of those fire clouds. I ended up taking a little bit of damage, but that's mostly fine. I can just heal it away. Again, this is layer 6, this is a dangerous area. Death Yaks are a 10-speed enemy that are very tanky. I was in a position there where I was basically going to say, okay, I am perfectly happy to not go into the ice cave if it means that I am more safe. That's basically what I just said. I immediately abandoned the idea of rushing towards that ice cloud because it was not safe. But because of the power of my spells, I was able to handle that pretty effectively. I'm going to go ahead and fireball here, then cast Conjure Flame. The enemies in this area will now not want to go into the fire, even if they could before. My enemies will, my allies will, because they're stupid. I'm going to tell them to retreat here with TR. Alright, he's an idiot. Well, they're undead. You can't really expect them to do much. That's fine, though. Alright. We have no way of resisting cold, meaning this is potentially very scary. I'm going to pop my head in just to see what is going on. Cast a fireball real quick. Fireball in this case is actually quite beneficial to us because it brings enemies towards us that we kind of want to deal with. This is different from fireball in unexplored areas. We know exactly where the enemies are going to come from, and as a result, it's safe to cast fireball. Okay, if I can't find any cold resistant tools in like a couple of hundred turns, I'm probably going to leave this place. Ice clouds can spawn in certain areas, and it will lead to my death, and that's probably not a good idea for a tutorial series. Okay, frozen wraiths, or freezing wraiths. Most of them will just explode to fireball. I believe a lot of enemies here are RF-, which makes us very, very potent in this fight. However, considering we are effectively, because we have no real defense and also no resist cold, we are effectively RC- as well. I'm going to back off here instead of engaging that freezing wraith because I had low mana. Again, at low mana, I'm feeling unsafe. Unsafe. That's how you should feel about it. If you have less than full mana, you should feel not in a good spot. It's much better for you to reset a fight because range and mana are your best companions. Here, there's an enemy sleeping, I can just back off immediately. I don't even have to fight that. I can cast Conjure Flame here to create a little firewall, and I can just kind of pelt at these guys from range. And you know what? I'm going to back off again, and I'm going to heal. 15 mana restored. That's the same as drinking a free mana potion in the middle of a fight. And now I still get my max range. I've separated the freezing wraith from his friends, having murdered them, and I'm at full mana again. What a powerful tool. The walking back strategy for mages is exceptional. There are no flaws in this strategy against 10-speed enemies. Obviously against not 10-speed enemies it can be a little bit rough, but it's still the best tool you have most of the time. Okay, I've been training the same things for a couple of floors now. I wonder if I should change anything else. Spellcasting is fairly high, but I like to keep spellcasting on most of the game. It's kind of like fighting for a mage, except fighting is also kind of like fighting, so you kind of always want fighting and spellcasting. I don't know if I need to exactly train like max fighting. That seems kind of rough. I think maybe I can turn it down. I can afford to turn it down. And maybe train a bit more conjurations. I don't really have anything that I specifically need right now, but I know for a fact that Vehumit's probably going to give me something good, and I want to keep my options open by training more conjurations. I could train more fire magic, that's fine as well, but it's fine. We don't really need more at this stage. If he gives us something amazing like Bolt of Fire, we definitely will though. Okay, I think at this stage that Vehumit is actually increasing the range of our spells. Yes, he is. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to go show you guys what that's all about. So Fireball has been extended such that it can now hit at the edge of line of sight. It can hit anything on the line of sight on my screen. Also, I think it can hit certain areas. Actually, is he actually doing that yet? Yes, I think he is. Okay. This makes Iskenderun's Mystic Blast full screen as well, so Vehumit's given us one extra tile of range. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. This range is incredibly potent. It turns your caster from a slightly risky dude to a literal artillery. One extra attack is incredible on a mage because you can spend up to about 6 to 7 mana in one extra attack, which is a lot of damage. So for example, you could throw an Orb of Destruction with one extra tile of range, but obviously that doesn't count because Orb is already full screen range. But you could throw like an extra Bolt of Fire, an extra Iron Shot, an extra Fireball, what have you, extra Poison Arrow. That's a lot of damage that you get to put out for free if you're able to get 1 extra tile of range. So that's why Vehement is considered my top pick for beginner spellcasters. If you do want to see a Sif Muna game, there are plenty on my channel. Just look up any, like, really any, oh god. Okay, let's back off here. That's not a good idea. Yeah, we'll back off, and we'll probably cast Fireball here on purpose to attract enemies towards us. But we're going to play it real safe. We're going to just shout here, attract stuff over here. Oh, yes! Excellent. Excellent. Alright, Orb of Destruction. Thank you, Vehement. This is why I love Vehement sometimes. He gives us just the best stuff. The best goods. Oops. Orb of Destruction's on O. Alright, so Orb of Destruction. 1 second, taking a drink. Orb of Destruction is a pure conjuration spell. Oh, someone's messaging me. Hello. I'm recording right now. Well, I hope he just gets that. Like, I don't want to tell him to piss off, but you know, I can't talk to him, so I'm just gonna ignore him. Or I could just delete that thing from the browser, but that's kind of mean. We'll if he talks to us, we'll talk to him, but we'll be a bit sad about it. Orb of Destruction. So this is a spell of pure destructive magic. So that means there's no element to it. It fires basically a massive bowling ball at the opponent that has a homing target around an enemy. It chases. It effectively, you target a guy, it chases them. Oh god. All right. Well, we're just gonna. Can we just inspect that? Delete that. Can we delete that? I think we can, right? Hide element. There we go. Damn, that's fucking rough. I'm sorry, man. Like, goodbye. You just don't exist anymore. Jesus. Alright, that was rough. So the Orb of Destruction is... now I lost my train of thought. I hate that so much. It effectively fires a homing bowling ball at an opponent. But it requires a bit of range to use, and it needs time to stabilize and hone in on the opponent. So basically what that means is, as it goes further out, it does more damage, and if it hits at melee range, it does a lot less. I think about like 50% or something like that, some crazy shit like that. Orb of Destruction will dissipate if it leaves your line of sight, similar to Freezing Clouds. However, you actually have time to do a half tile of it being out of line of sight and hitting someone, which means that at certain points you'll be able to actually kill someone off screen with the Orb of Destruction, which is why I consider this spell to be pretty much the best spell in the game in terms of pure conjuration. Sorry, in terms of any offensive spell, I consider Orb of Destruction as probably the best spell in the game. Not the only spell in the game, but the best one. And I'll show you a lot of this. You'll be seeing a lot of this spell, so don't worry about that. But for the time being, we'll probably not use it until we have a little bit more spellcasting, or we use the Staff of Energy. Also, one cool thing with the Staff of Power. If you switch out of the Staff of Power, it takes away all of the excess mana, so that 15 excess mana, but if those 15 mana were empty, you do not, like, those are taken away as well. So, for example, if I am at 36 MP, so say I've used 12 mana, and I switch out of it, I go down to 33 MP, but I've only lost 3 real mana, if that makes sense. So what I'm basically trying to point out here is, you can actually use the Staff of Power until you run low on mana, low enough on mana that you go below that, like, critical point. Then you can switch to a Staff of Energy and use it with no downside. Only 0.5 turns of switching. It's tedious, but it's incredibly, incredibly powerful, and kind of busted, to be completely honest, but, you know, that's just the way it is. So here I can just get the Staff of Power up. Oh, shit. Okay, I need to blink away from this guy. Or we can Sticky Flame. Okay. I need to Conjure Flame here, Conjure Flame. Okay. This is not a good position for us to be in. There's enemies below us. Okay, thankfully we have a little bit of stealth, just a touch, to make us avoid that fight. That was a bit scary though. I just kind of turned the corner and there was a nice freezing wraith. That was spooky as hell. Thankfully though, undead generally are slower than us. The only exception in this case would be those freezing wraiths that are the same speed as us, I believe. I'm pretty sure they are anyway. I'm gonna go to the north, just see if there's anything over here. There might be. I'm a bit scared. I'm gonna be cautious. Be very cautious about this. But yeah, Orb of Destruction is not going to be used in any... usually not going to be used in corridors because it has a good chance. It's weird because Orb of Destruction is the only thing that can kind of smack into walls. If you guys have ever played against opponents... Excuse me. If you've ever fought against liches and ancient liches, you actually know how the spell operates. You can actually hit walls. You can, and orb spiders in general. It can hit walls. So in corridors, it tends to hit walls a lot. So you won't be seeing a lot of the damage. Okay, let's back off here. Let that troll simulacrum get towards us. All right, so here is an example of fireball sniping. Another one against this stationary target that we know exactly where it is. I can just kind of shoot here, and it'll eventually kill that statue. Statues don't regenerate either, so I can just kind of do it over and over again. There we go. Got a free kill. Look at that. Beautiful. Wonderful. So another thing that Vehement gives, one benefit, quote-unquote, is that he's really simple. There's no abilities in this guy. But he is incredibly potent for what he does. So I do like to recommend him because you don't have to know how to use your abilities. But right now, Fireball is like pretty damn incredible for killing most of these guys. There's a Necromancer there. Wasn't too worried about what he was going to do, but Fireball and eventually IMB and Sticky Flame will always take him out very quickly. Alright, 2 manuals of Ice Magic. What does that mean for us? Well, that means that our Ice Magic is going to be at +5 aptitude. So a manual, you guys, I assume, know what that means. Basically lets you get free aptitude increases as time goes on. Sorry, yeah, you get an aptitude increase until I think you hit a certain amount of EXP gained, and then it goes away. Having 2 doesn't increase the rate at which you learn Ice Magic, it only increases the duration. So we get it for quite a while. Also, I'm going to read these scrolls just because I can. I guess we can brand that weapon. We're pretty much never going to use it anymore, so it's fine. We'll probably just drop this Dagger of Piercing. It's kind of useless at this point. We don't really need a melee weapon at all, realistically. But we can get one, but it's just not worth using at this point. Mostly because our melee weapon is Sticky Flame, and that's an incredibly strong weapon at this stage. So, yeah, there's no real point in training, or even bothering with a melee weapon. We don't have time or the life to maintain a melee position for very long, so it's not really worth training ever. Alright, do some free fireball sniping here. Again, always, if you're new and you don't know how fireball operates, you should try to, like, kind of muck around with how the fireball, like, can hit. You might be able to hit more enemies than you're actually aware of than just using, like, the regular fireball pattern. Alright, the Buckler is an excellent pickup. Really good, actually. I'm going to go ahead and turn dodging off and start training shields. Bucklers are really good because they're kind of like baby shields. They only cost 4 to completely remove the skill penalty, meaning they completely remove all of the spell casting penalty. So it's very cheap, and even if you put them on right now, you can barely tell the difference between having it on and having it off. It's 2% on Orb of Destruction. That's fine. Like, I'll take it. Whatever. I don't care. So it's very nice to have, and it offers us 3 shield, which is not great, but it's enough, right? It's enough for me to be fine with it. Okay, I'm in a position now where I am effectively trapped. I need to avoid dying here by probably casting Ice Cloud right here and having them walk straight through. And then I accidentally put the Ice Cloud out with my fire spell, which is dumb. Should use IMB in that spot, but I was merely worried about casting a loud spell so close to an area where I don't know where I am, and also have where the entrance way is blocked, and also, you know, with my back to a wall. It's just a horrible time. You know, teleporting on this floor could be very disastrous. I could teleport into the middle of this crazy vault, which is a zoo vault, or I could teleport in the middle of this crazy vault, which has a fire dragon in it. It just doesn't sound like a lot of fun. It'd be horrible, so I'm not going to do it. At this point, I should check what scrolls I have left. Enchant Armor, Fear, Noise, Silence, and Torment. None of these are good except Enchant Armor and Fear, sorry. Okay, I wasted my Fear scroll. I was a bit unlucky, but that's okay. I'm just trying to ID the rest of these scrolls, so I don't have to worry about them anymore. At this stage, mostly the ID game is worthless, effectively. I can just ID anything that I need to, but for some reason I just don't have that many ID scrolls, so I can't really do that. That's fine, though. Okay, Torpor Snail. I can use his slowness to my advantage by casting Freezing Clouds everywhere. Stand 1 turn in melee, just a little bit, so that I can kill him. Oh, I can actually eat his corpse. That's interesting. I didn't know that. For some reason, I always thought he was poisoned. He had a poisonous corpse. I mean, I probably knew that, but I just kind of slipped my mind in the moment that I could eat his corpse. Didn't matter anyway, but, you know. Whatever, I'm just rambling at this point. Sorry about that. Okay, gonna cast Freezing Cloud here. Gonna push aggressively into this unknown because I know that Freezing Cloud will kill most things in here. Cast Freezing Cloud again. Now, see, I took about 20 damage a turn from this Freezing Cloud. Just 1 turn putting it on myself was fairly disastrous. This is why you shouldn't ever really try to do that. But I knew that I was at full health, full mana, and there were only Blink Frogs, so I just kind of wanted to get it over with. Could have casted IMB as well for more efficiency, but, you know, at this point, it's not... It's really just, like, being pedantic to be this efficient, I think. Like I said, most of the time, spellcasters will let you get away with a certain level of laziness. It's not like this optimal play was necessary at all to make it to this point at all. Like, seriously, it wasn't. I'm only showing this again so that people who are really struggling can try to learn a little bit from the form and practice that I've been putting out, I guess. So that area over there is a pretty spooky area. Layer 6 comes with different pre-designed end vaults, and that's not great to fight sometimes, depending on which vault you get. This is not horrible, but I don't have any resist fire, so it's very unlikely that I'm going to actually go and fight it. The Fire Dragon. He's also really immune to the spells I got. Actually, no. He isn't immune to Orb of Destruction, which is my premium spell. So it could be that I just don't care, and I can just kill him anyway. However, I'm really scared because this downstairs here, this whole wide open area is going to have to be explored first, but it's all held together by this one choke point, which also has... So, like, whichever one I go into will expose me to a potential flank. I think the best strategy here is just shouting and walking back and leaving that choke point, and instead just kind of firing at enemies from this area. That way I avoid being choked in. That's a Lindworm. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cast Orb of Destruction. So it casts that little ball. I can pull back 1 turn, and boom, it blows it up in 1 hit. So Orb of Destruction should always be cast and then immediately retreated from. You should be able to cast it and get halfway across the screen before it hits its enemy, and at that point you'll be able to just absolutely annihilate things. It's really overpowered if you can abuse it. I'm shouting here just to make sure that I'm not going to get flanked. I'm hoping not to get flanked. Okay, see, that's what I mean by getting flanked. There was a bunch of enemies right outside of my... Really? He just walked straight through? God damn it. Alright, fine. Sometimes they can do that. That's fine. Acceptable. Understandable. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually fireball these trees. Casting direct fire spells of a certain strength will actually set them on fire, causing a massive inferno, and destroying the tree in the process. This tiny interaction, this like very niche interaction with the environment is what's going to probably get us through this fight in general. I need to open up this area so that the enemy can just wander out, and then I can hit him with all the destruction at max range. Oh shit, there he is. Holy shit, that scared me. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cast a fireball here. Try to increase the noise. I do not ever want to be close enough to that fire dragon for him to actually hit us. Okay, there he is. So I'm going to cast ice clouds here. This is going to do one main thing. It's going to destroy him completely, and it's also going to prevent that firebolt from hitting us. Again, the same idea was used to fight Harold. There we go. Great. I could have used Orb of Destruction there, but I figured it wasn't necessary. Also, keep in mind that, note that I'm just kind of spamming rations. This is a little bit more of a nervous tick than anything, but I tend to do that because I was preparing myself mentally to use Orb of Destruction multiple times. Which is stupid considering I had the wrong staff on, and it was going to be hungerless anyway. That was really dumb. So that was mostly a mistake on my part. Alright, I'm going to back off here, and I'm just going to cast Orb of Destruction. His poison clouds are going to interfere with my ice cloud, so it's not really worth doing. But note that every single time I cast every single time I cast Orb of Destruction, my first instinct is move the hell back, move the hell back, move the hell back. Every turn you're casting Orb of Destruction should be followed immediately by a turn of running the hell away. It's a spell that you want to increase, that takes time to blow up. So you want to increase or maintain the distance between your opponent and you while it's blowing up. It's a very simple mechanic, and I can't really explain with great depth how that works, but you know, that's just the way I see it. So I'm sorry if it makes no sense to you guys. I'm going to set a skill target here for shields, and I'm going to set that at 4. That's going to make it so that once it hits 4, it automatically turns off. It's a very neat feature that they've added. Alright, so I picked up these dragon scales. The reason why I'm doing this is because swamp dragon scales are actually very doable for a for a mage character. Everything at 1%, everything at 2%. So all destruction, freezing cloud, my 2 highest spells are at 2% fail. I put these swamp dragon scales on, and they're at 13 to 12% fail. That's still acceptable. It's not great right now. I'm not happy with this yet, but I am very happy to eventually go on to do Swamp Dragon Scales, which are about Ringmail level encumbrance. Steam Dragon Scales have Robe level encumbrance and offer really nothing except just extra AC. As you can see here, if you look over to the top right, I get 3 extra AC by putting these Steam Dragon Scales on. However, I lose my 1 pip of MR. And I think at this stage the MR is slightly more important than the 3 extra AC. That seems kind of counterintuitive though. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's just how I'm seeing it subjectively, so don't take that as gospel fact, I guess. So the Ring of Ice is often tempting to hold on to for rings, because it provides you with extra ice power, so it'd make my freezing cloud more powerful. The same would be for a Ring of Fire for a fire mage, which is what we are. So could be tempting, but walking around with RF minus is never a good idea. Even with RF nothing is really not a good idea, and we're only doing it because we have no choice. So I would never wear one of these enhancer rings just to increase the spell power. I wouldn't do it. It's just not necessary at all to play the game. So just a little hint, because I know that a lot of people will do that at some point to try to boost their Firestorm or boost their fire spells in general. And I'm just going to let you guys know right now that that's just not on. It's un-Australian. It's wrong. Okay. Pick up the Box of Beasts, mostly because it's a pretty cool, neat little tool. At 0 evocations, it's very efficient and very powerful, so I'm going to use it if I need a quick ally. I'll treat it effectively like an animate skeleton, a raised skeleton, that I don't have to cast on a corpse, and it doesn't cost mana. So that's basically how I treat it. This Box of Beasts. It's actually very useful. I don't think it's I think it's always worth it to pick it up if you have the slots. I think that's how I would phrase it. How long are we recording? 33 minutes. I probably should end the video here, just for the purposes of, you know, preserving time. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explore everywhere except this big ass entrance, because I know that's the second layer 6 vault. I'm gonna make sure not to cast too many expensive. Never mind. All right, the second that oh no, I'm gonna blink here. Okay, this is enough space. I don't like this, but I'm gonna cast Orb Destruction. Oh no, I miscast it. There we go. Sweet. All right, Orb Destruction. Quickly cast and blew up the Hydra. Okay, you know what? This is too much for me to handle, because if I cast loud spells down here, it's going to attract enemies over here. I don't want that. So I'm just going to leave it for another day, take it slow, leave it for another session, don't worry about it. Easy peasy. Well, that's going to leave it here then today. Deep Elf Fire Elementalist taking a long ass time to get to wherever we need to go, but I hope this has been helpful. At this point, I've already forgotten how to play quickly for a mage, so this will probably be the continued pace for the rest of the run until we play a real mage, and then I just go crazy. That'd be fun. But yeah, what else should we talk about? Is there anything I missed? We talked about opportunity cost. We talked a little bit about Behemoth's spell range. We talked about Orb of Destruction. Yeah, mostly we've covered a lot of the good basics of a mage. That's pretty good stuff. Orb of Destruction is one of those spells where you always pick it up as an attack mage. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what element you're using. You just pick it up because it's the best spell in the game, and it's also going to be undodgeable. It's also primarily the 3-rune Orb of Destruction killer. Tends to be Orb of Fire killer. It tends to be the thing that you use against Orbs of Fire. Ancient Liches, Electric Golems, you name it in Zot, and you probably use Orb of Destruction on it. Like, it's pretty much the best thing ever. So yeah, we got the nuts, guys. We really drew into a good lot here. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all tomorrow.